for today's conversation. Voila. Okay, so I kind of, you know me, I'm never satisfied just playing it safe, playing by the rules, following the conventions, not rocking the boat, not saying what we're all thinking, not saying the obvious truth that's staring us in the face. I'm pathologically addicted to just pointing out when I see something. Even if I'm not supposed to point it out, even when people are gonna punish me for pointing it out, if it's there and I'm looking at it square in the face, I just, like, I don't know, am I a bad person for just pointing it out? So, with that in mind, I was playing Stardew Valley the other day on stream, and it was a lot of fun. And somebody commented on my stream saying, check the news, and I was like, check the news? Just tell me the news. I'm playing a video game right now. What am I gonna check the news? I'm not gonna do something for you. You do something for me. That's how this transaction works. I'm the streamer. If you got something you want me to see, then you better show it to me. So I was like, check the news. But then apparently this person was trying to tell me something, but their comments weren't showing up. But other people chimed in and informed me that the president, or former president, or I guess technically you're still considered a president after you retire. You still officially have, it's like a lifelong title, president. So one of our presidents was shot, and I was like, I wasn't really, I mean, you can look at my reaction. I didn't really maybe treat it with a lot of severity. But, you know, judging by the fact that people weren't reporting that, like, the president was seriously wounded, I was kind of like, okay, well, it was probably a failed assassination. And so I kind of knew from the get-go that nothing really bad had happened to Trump. But, you know, I just keep thinking, would this video get removed from YouTube as a TOS violation if I said what I'm thinking? I don't know, would it? Is this something you can't say on YouTube? Maybe. But I'm gonna say it anyway. I kind of wish that it didn't fail. I kind of wish that the guy succeeded in killing Trump. I mean, I'm just saying, like, yeah, I mean, that's natural, that's normal, right? Like, that's a natural thing for a person to think, right? Right? Now, obviously, you know, I don't like political violence, and I think with stuff like this, it tends to only escalate. I think the way you resolve issues like this is by abstaining from escalating, abstaining from violence, abstaining from reprisals, stuff like that. I don't think it's a good idea to go around punching people you disagree with, or killing people who you want to get rid of. But just think about it, like, would we be better off if he were dead? I mean, yeah, obviously, because he's a big part of what's kind of eroding the country's faith in its political system. He's a big part of what is kind of eroding the country's political culture and making it, putting it in a decent amount of jeopardy. I mean, a constitutional crisis, we could even say. Something on the level of Richard Nixon. If not worse. With all, I mean, he's a very, he's really done a lot to damage, I think, the country. Now, in some ways, the ways he's damaged the country are more just like him bringing out what was already there. But that itself is a problem, because that just like encourages that kind of thing to grow and get worse. So, if he were gone, I think that the country would be in a better state. And we wouldn't have to worry about another Republican presidency in 2025, and that would be good. So where I'm standing, I'm looking at the situation like, if the guy's bullet had been a few inches to the right, like, what would be the drawback? What would be the downside of that situation if Trump were actually killed? Like, wouldn't that just be a win-win all around for us? Like, we get rid of this guy, he's gone, we don't have to think about him anymore. Like, what would be the drawback? I guess, the escalation of violence, the escalation of, because this might cause reprisals, and it might cause things like this to keep happening. But we've had presidents shot before. I mean, it's by no means an uncommon thing in our history, and it hasn't destroyed the country. The country has always recovered from it. It's always been something that's been treated in an isolated way. I mean, how many of our presidents have been shot? Many presidents have been shot or shot at. I suppose the first one was Andrew Jackson. That one was an abysmal failure. Of course, one of the most famous ones, Abraham Lincoln, James A. Garfield, William McKinley, John F. Kennedy, probably the most famous one, Ronald Reagan, Theodore Roosevelt. I mean, fucking pull a president's name out of a hat, and odds are probably there's like a 1 in 4 chance that someone has shot him or tried to shoot him. What I'm saying, it's pretty fucking common for this kind of thing to happen. And so, like, I don't really see a lot of horrible, lasting political consequences of a presidential assassination like this. So, like, where's the drawback? I guess some people value the sanctity of life. I've never really been one for that kind of thing. I mean, I have a whole video on my channel called On Death, where I talk about how I prefer death to life. I'd rather be dead than alive. Don't really value the sanctity of my life or other people's lives. That's a big reason why I'm pro-abortion, because I like killing babies. So that's the thing. It's like, if you don't value life all that much, just on an objective, like, baseline human level, if it's not really something that tickles you in that way, I mean, obviously I think it's important not to go around killing people. I think that's very, very important. But when it's someone as bad for the country as Trump, I'm kind of sitting here wondering, like, okay, we've established that I think it might have been better if he had died. We've established that, but then let's take that thought a step further. What does that mean exactly? Does it mean that I think the killer was right to do what he did? That is taking it a step farther, isn't it? That is harder for me to commit to as a philosophical idea, that this was a just action. I think that I think it probably was a bad thing to do, because it is a violent action. But then again, I mean, we commit acts of violence in order to do good things. That's something that's a known aspect of our life as a species, that we do that. I don't know if I'm fully settled on the question of when violence is appropriate. Is it ever appropriate? I think it's still an idea that's kind of up in the air for me, undecided. And so it's also kind of undecided for me whether I agree with the practice of political assassination. In certain cases. In cases like Trump, where I think that, you know, originally when all the libs were crowing about how they hate Trump, I kind of didn't take it all that seriously, and I thought that they were kind of whining and being melodramatic and hysterical about this idea that Trump is going to destroy democracy. And I still don't think that Trump is going to destroy democracy in this country. But there is a thing that I've noticed in history where when democracy is destroyed, it's a slow process of erosion that comes before that. And I don't think Trump has it in him to be the one to, you know, to slam the mallet on the desk and declare democracy over. I don't think that that's necessarily his role in this scheme. But I think that no one in our time has done more to erode democracy than he. And so that leaves me thinking he's uniquely dangerous. Because if it were just that he had different political agendas and motivations and ideas, then I don't think I would be in favor of getting rid of him at all. But it's the fact that he's undermining the whole structure that does make me kind of think, is this a national security risk having this guy around? Is this actually like, is it more like, you know, how you can justify killing as an act of war, for instance, because it's a national security risk. It happens that he's not a foreign security risk, he's a domestic one, but, you know, he's still a security risk. I don't know exactly where to come down on this, but it's definitely an interesting dilemma. What do you think about it? I hope that in merely expressing this just very obvious elephant in the room, I'm not triggering any terms of service violation on YouTube. Because I think it's important to talk about stuff like this. What is the appropriate conclusion to draw from all this? I don't know.